Welcome. I'm Ocean. This is this is episode 2 of my Character Talks podcast. And as you can clearly see, I'm finally on to my Percy Jackson episode. I know I said I was going to do all of the Turtle Brothers, but I scratched that idea. I had a lot of votes saying they wanted Percy Jackson. So here you go. For starters, Percy Jackson is an iconic character throughout the entirety of the Rick Roirdan books. He's done it all, from roasting gods to surviving Tartarus. And today, that's exactly what we're talking about. Not anyone else, maybe Annabeth, but definitely not Zeus. I can't even say the name without gagging. Percy Jackson, as we know, or maybe don't, is the son of Poseidon. He is a demigod, child of the big three. From quests to sassing the gods, Percy has more achievements than Hercules himself. Starting Camp Half-Blood at 12 and then attending Camp Jupiter at 17, but we all know that was Hera's fault. And there are spoilers, so if any of you want to actually read these books, you have been warned. And I really should have warned you at the beginning, but I don't care at this point. So, we're starting off strong and sad, getting it over with by talking about the extreme amounts of trauma this poor guy has. And oftentimes, his trauma is really overlooked. So that's why I'm starting with it. In the beginning, aka the Lightning Thief, we know that Gabe, Percy's first stepfather, abused Sally. 1 second. I'm gonna go kill him. Oh, wait, I can't, because Sally already turned him into stone. Savage! Back on topic now, there's been lots of fan-made headcanons that are made up based off of Gabe and Percy's relationship, and by that I mean that Percy could have been abused by Gabe as a child. Yet, since there's not much to know about this, I have to move on to the next idea. This next idea is more focused on Percy's life as a demigod, son of Poseidon. This is mainly because he found out his dad was a god when he was only 12 years old, and since, he's been going on life-threatening quests, ranging from returning Zeus's Master Bolt all the way to completing quests for the minor gods, just so he can get to college with Annabeth. Clearly, I have a lot to talk about here. Honestly, I could go on forever, but we're on a limit, so I can't. Going off that last idea that I just mentioned, in Chalice of the Gods, Percy is informed that he cannot get into New Realm College with Annabeth unless he completes 3 letters of recommendation from the gods. He's the only one who needs to meet this requirement of the letters, because according to a certain god, Zeus, Percy is in debt for all the quests he's completed and all the wars he's won. This whole idea, as I said, was created by Zeus, who is a stuck-up little twerp, who I will say nothing more about since he's not king of the universe. Please don't smite me. Of course, Percy does pay attention to the minor gods, as says his requested promise from the gods at the end of Book 5, The Last Olympian. On this particular subject, Percy did fight in 2 wars, the Battle of Manhattan in The Last Olympian against Cronus, who was possessing Luke Castone at the time, and the Second Giant War in The Blood of Olympus against the Giants, where he fought alongside his father, the other 7 demigods of the quest, and their parents. That war was against Gaia, the evil Earth Mother. And also, that whole actual fight started after Percy got a nosebleed on sacred ground. Good times, am I right? Since we're talking about Heroes of Olympus, let me introduce you to Tartarus Percy. This topic, in my opinion, isn't entirely, quote-unquote traumatizing, but it did have a great impact on him and Annabeth. It was literally, how much misery can misery take? And if you've read the books, you know that one scene takes place in the House of Hades during the time period when Percy and Annabeth got stuck in Tartarus because they fell due to Arachne, who Annabeth fought previously. And they did survive Tartarus. I mean, they do have a lot of trauma, and I'm pretty sure Bob died. Yeah, Bob did die. Stars, Bob says hello. And that's all. They survived after fighting monsters, creatures, demons, and all sorts of evils. And, honestly, I don't think that the prophecies help. I mean, all the deaths in the books have been foretold. Ooh, are those big words? I think I'm using the big words. I'm just kidding. Well, not about the deaths. I would never joke about a demigod's death. And you're all probably wondering, what about Charlie Beckendorf? You're right. His death was the only death that was not prophesied, whatever. So, why am I mentioning a super tragic death that I'm going to cry over when it's in the show? There's a simple answer to that. This haunts Percy forever. Let me say why. If Percy was on the Princess Andromeda with Charlie when they were planting explosives, something could have been done, right? They're on the boat, Charlie's being held captive by some freaky monsters, Percy's injured, blah, blah, blah. Charlie tells Percy to go and presses the button on his watch. Percy jumps and is rescued by Poseidon. Now, while Charlie's death was important to the plot of the story, Selena's death and slowing down Kronos, that does not mean it actually had to happen, and I am not saying it's Percy's fault. Nevertheless, if Charlie had waited for Percy to find an opening, Percy could have jumped off the boat with Charlie instead of having to leave it behind. Because honestly, Selena's reaction was way too heartbreaking, and I shall never forgive Roirdan for killing them off. Nor Jason. But I digress. My main point for this entire topic of trauma is actually the fact that Percy never had a normal childhood. Never had a normal childhood. You hear me, Zeus? You're on my list! Moving on. At a certain point in their lives, the demigods get so powerful, no matter their godly parent, that the monsters can smell them. And look, that does sound weird, but it's true. The stronger the demigod, the stronger the small monsters can track. Because of the monsters, gods, the mist, and all that crap, demigods can never have a true childhood. And I understand there's possibly a lot more trauma to talk about, but I think that we need to move on to a much more romantic topic, such as Percybeth. Young love together forever. It's beautiful. Percy and Annabeth are united, and oh, Rick just threw them into Tartarus. Oh, hey, that's Percybeth's luck for you. Okay, I'm gonna sound stupid for clearing this up, but just in case there are some noobs out there, like my music tech and band teacher, are confused, Percybeth is not an actual person. It's a ship name. Percy x Annabeth. Canon, obviously. It's probably best to start out how they did, when they were 12 years old on their first quest to return Zeus's master bolt back to him. In total honesty, I think that it was a he fell first and she fell harder. Please debate that with me if you want. I enjoy hearing people's opinions. Just don't be too rude about it. But I think that most people forget about that one scene in book 3 of the series, Titan's Curse. The scene is when Percy is face to face with Aphrodite. But did he see Aphrodite? No! He actually saw Annabeth instead. So that does support my idea of Percy falling for Annabeth, then her falling for him, since she doesn't make an actual move until book 4, Battle of the Labyrinth, when she kisses him before he goes off to fight. Obviously, after that, there's the underwater kiss in book 5 after the Battle of Manhattan, which is shocking because I keep looking back at my notes from when I was writing the script, and it wasn't in there originally, and then I was banging on my head on my desk ever since. Way to go, Ocean. Jeez. Anyway, Percy's fatal flaw is loyalty, as we know. He's gone to the underworld to save his mom, went to the sea of monsters to save Grover, held the sky for Annabeth, etc., etc. Now, before I get anyone saying, oh, well, Annabeth held it up longer than Percy, I just want to say both of them held it. It doesn't really matter who held it for longer, since they both held it and they both survived. It just proves my point that Percy would go to the ends of the earth for Annabeth. I mean, he literally has, hasn't he? But another point I wanted to touch on while talking about Percybeth is actually the way he looks at her. Yeah, I get it. They're in a book. We can't tell how they look at each other. Oh, wait. Yeah, we can. They just made a remake of the books into a Disney Plus show starring Walker Scobell as Percy Jackson and Leah Savage Jeffries as Annabeth Chase. I wanted to mention them slightly because perks to them. They did awesome in the show, and I cannot wait for season 2, which they just finished filming, and I can't wait till December, which is when it's coming out. And the way they look at each other naturally shows they go from enemies like their parents to friends, then eventual lovers. And it's so cute. In all seriousness, they're happy for what? A few weeks? Then Hera decides to swoop in and boop! Take Percy out of the picture and plant him with the Romans in order to stop Gaia from waking. Bouncing off this, I like the idea that fans have made about Hera being jealous of Annabeth of the love. She's jealous that Percy loves Annabeth more than Zeus loves her. And it's interesting idea, like it's an interesting headcanon that I feel like is actually secretly canon. I support it 100%. You know? It's a really awesome concept. And going back to New Rome, my favorite scene in Son of Neptune is when Reyna is giving Percy a tour of the city. He sees older couples and little toddlers around the place. Most are demigods themselves. And it gives him a sense of hope as he then thinks about him and Annabeth living there when they're older, having a kid and jobs. It really warmed my heart to read, because honestly, it's one of the only reasons I reread Son of Neptune. Like, the second reason being Brazel, and the third being Percy's in it. I digress. Yes, I'm going out of order when talking about this stuff, and I'm not going chronologically. And since we're discussing Perseus, let's be honest, there's a lot to talk about there. I started thinking about the Battle of Manhattan. In the end, the gods are giving the heroes a single gift of gratitude. They offer Percy immortality. He is the hero of Olympus. I like the way Rick made this scene play out, because it's one of the most beautiful moments Percy shippers appreciate. The moment Percy says, "No, pay your child support." Okay, so he didn't say that exactly, but it's fun to quote. Anyway, in the scene, he literally looked at Annabeth and remembered that she rejected immortality from Artemis. So, knowing how head over heels he is for her, he rejects Zeus's offer. I love that scene so much. Back on track. I would like to end the Perseus topic with exactly how they met. The exact moment he saw her, he called her a princess. A princess! Finally, one of my favorite topics, and the final one, Persassy. It's a wonderful topic, I think, so I shall start with my favorite idea. Pay your child support. Basically, a headcanon job for Percy has been child support because of his life as a demigod. Percy, pay your child support Jackson, a career where he goes to the gods and tells them to pay more attention to their children. It suits him pretty darn well, if I do say so myself. Now, his fatal flaw, also known as a flaw that every hero has, but not just heroes have it, we all have one too. A fatal flaw is like a weakness, and Percy's is loyalty. In Book 1, he goes to save his mom from Hades. In Book 2, he went to save Grover from Cyclops' island. In Book 3, he traveled to San Francisco to save Annabeth. Pardon me. Fatal flaws are pretty important topics when discussing heroes. More to the point, Percy's extremely loyal to his friends. He'd risk his life for them. But when you think about it, if it were between saving Annabeth and saving the world, Percy would find a way to save both. I think my favorite scene between Leo and Percy, though, is actually when they discuss zodiac signs. You mean a zodiac sign? I'm a Leo, is what Percy originally claimed. But Leo corrected him. No, stupid, I'm a Leo. You're a Percy. And ever since then, zodiac signs have been irrelevant in the Percy Jackson universe. All you need to know is if you're a Percy or not. Simple as that. Since Persassy is a bit of a looser topic, we'll have less to talk about. Though I wanted to touch on the prophecies again, once more. The first great prophecy said that Percy was going to die. He was like, bet. And right after he crashed his own funeral, and this is like right after he crashed his own funeral and heard Annabeth call him brave. Though Persassy is everywhere in these books, it's really hard to discuss as a topic. But hey, I did it! Ha ha ha! Thank you all for listening and tuning in to this episode of Character Talks. I am Ocean, and I'll be putting up more votes on what character I should do next. Who do you think I should do? Put it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for listening. The next episode of Character Talks, character is to be determined, as in, I have no idea what character to do. I will be posting a character poll, and once more before I say goodbye, I actually am now part of the Husband Hotel fandom. I have not seen the grand finale. I'm only to episode 5 since I do not have to show myself on my own TV. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you all again once I come up with a new topic. Bye, y'all.